People are increasingly becoming worried that we may be going to war with Iran on behalf of Saudi Arabia. Yikes. Now, over the last few days, tensions with Iran, as well as oil prices, have spiked over a recent attack on Saudi oil fields. Now, we don't know who did it, but the administration and the Saudis specifically are pointing the finger at Iran. Now, I don't know what happens. Um, they use drones, apparently, and so the Trump administration is looking at that, and the Saudis are looking at that and say, well, they're the only ones that have that technology, so it must be the Iranians. Now, look, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, considering the Iranian regime would like to have the sanctions lifted off them instead of making things worse by attacking other people. But you never know, right? Now, what's interesting about this is who actually does well and benefits from war with Iran. For one, it'd be Saudi Arabia. In fact, just the thought of having war with Iran makes the Saudis incredibly happy, and it also makes the oil companies happy. Again, you guys have all seen what's happened to the prices over the last few days. But what's interesting is President Trump made a curious admission. He said that U.S. military forces are both locked and loaded to hit whatever country Saudi Arabia thinks they attacked their oil fields. Now, let me give you the quote here. We are waiting to hear from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. Proceed with a retaliatory strike. Now that makes me go, shit. Here we go again. Another possible disastrous Mideast conflict. How about we not play the role of Saudi Arabia's enforcer? I mean, they're a brutal regime that still cuts the heads off of people for apostasy and witchcraft. I'm not saying Iran is nice either, right? The Iranian government also sucks. I mean, the mullahs, nobody likes the mullahs. I despise the mullahs. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense to see that they would drone Saudi oil fields, especially as if you as a country want to remove or have the economic sanctions removed from you so that you can sell oil. And so now, this is an interesting story that goes along with this, right? So before all this happened, it was reported by Axios that Trump had allegedly offered the country of Iran a $15 billion bailout. Now, why would he do that? Well, allegedly to get them to keep complying with the terms of the Iran deal. You know that Iran deal that he ripped up that he said was very, very terrible and not strong whatsoever? If this report is correct, then Trump is going like, I don't know, I'll put some money on the table for you because it turns out that deal's kind of awesome. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but the report says that the Iranians rejected that offer and would only accept total compliance with the agreement that the U.S. made with Iran. Then going back to the Obama-Iran deal. Fascinating. Now, the same report also mentions that was the last straw, that offer was the last straw for John Bolton. John Bolton, who wants to go to war with pretty much everyone, said, that's it. No, we're not going to offer them $15 billion and not have a war. No, I want my war. Well, too bad, John. You're not getting your war. Well, then again, maybe they will. Now, again, I don't know if any of this reporting is true. I'm taking it all with a cautious grain of salt. Let's be honest. But the thing is, Iran was actually very content with the Obama era deal. They were complying with the deal because it was a good deal. It was good for their economy. They had a boost. And then, of course, those sanctions, when they snapped back into place, massively hurt the Iranian economy. So that the whole idea of these things snapping back into place is what kept the Iranians from, violating that deal. Now, the rest of the countries who also signed on to the deal, they were very content with it. They did their best to stick with it. They're still trying to get Iran to stick with it. But Trump, it made it a lot harder since Trump decided to rip up that deal. So, disaster, right? So now all of this is thanks to Trump ripping up that agreement. He's an idiot. He and stupid people like Lindsey Graham. You know what Lindsey Graham is saying? We should go to war with Iran. To this day, if John McCain were still alive, John McCain would be with Lindsey Graham saying, let's go to war with Iran. That's all these neocon war hawks want, is another disastrous conflict in the Middle East. You think Iraq was bad? Iran, I think, is about 4 times the size of Iraq. And they actually have a fairly competent military and a Revolutionary Guard. So that would be an absolute bloodbath. Disaster. And all this would be in order to help out Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. I mean, think about this. Donald Trump loves the Saudi prince, Mohammed bin Salman, right? And now he's thinking, and this is insane, of using the U.S. military as a weapon for one of the worst offenders of human rights on the planet, Saudi Arabia. And right now, and I've reported on this, right now, Saudi Arabia is still starving the country of Yemen. It's gross. It's disgusting. And yet here we are, we're helping them. Disaster. Now that has people outraged, of course. Now let me go to a tweet here from Chris Hayes. He's a MSNBC host, right? He said pretty bluntly, congratulations, members of the United States Armed Forces. Mohammed bin Salman, is your new commander-in-chief. I messed that up. I have a tendency to call him Bin Salman. Sorry. Just what it is. Now, look, I'm not surprised by this. You guys aren't surprised. I'm not shocked to see an unstable person doing unstable things. In fact, it's kind of refreshingly honest while also being simultaneously terrifying. But on Monday, Trump said this. And this, again, shows what Trump thinks of this deal, right? Thinks of helping Saudi Arabia. He said, quote, Saudi Arabia pays cash. The whole idea of using our military to attack Iran on behalf of Saudi Arabia. And Trump says, they pay cash. Quote, we would certainly help them, Trump said, noting that they've been a great ally. No, they haven't. What have they actually done as an ally? What has Saudi Arabia done to become an ally? Oh, right, they sell us cheap oil. Wow. And of course, that's what it is. But then he goes to say, quote, they spend $400 billion in our country over the last number of years. $400 billion, that's 1.5 million jobs. I do not know where he gets any of these numbers. I just don't. Now, he also said that if the U.S. engages in military action against the country of Saudi Arabia's choosing, that they would be, quote, very much involved in paying for that. Again, going back to paying cash. Quote, this is something that is much different than other presidents would mention. The fact that they never talk about the country paying cash for our protection. He also said, the Saudis are going to have a lot more of involvement in this if we decide to do something, and that includes payment, and they understand that fully. In case you were not clear about that, Trump wants to basically rent out our military to the Saudis so that we can go to war with Iran because Saudi Arabia despises Iran. This is both incredibly disturbing and potentially disastrous. Renting out our troops to a butcher like Mohammed bin Salman. And Trump is considering to do that. By the way, this guy, the reason we call him Bone Saw is because he ordered the murder and dismemberment of a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. No, let's help those guys out. Why? Because they give us lots of money. No, you know who they give lots of money to? Donald Trump. They spent $400 million in Trump properties. That's why he loves them. That's why he's going to turn the military into basically a thing that other countries can rent to take out their enemies. Complete and utter disaster. And by the way, those of you who are unsure about this whole thing, why would Donald Trump help someone? Well, again, it has to do with money, not ideology. If it were about ideology, then absolutely no conservative would be in favor of this plan. Why? Because they practice the most radical, extreme form of Islam, Salafism. Okay? These are incredibly, yes, very, very conservative Sharia law. Now, they say they're against Sharia law, but in reality, of course, they want their own type of Christian Sharia. They don't allow women to, well, maybe they're starting to allow women to drive, so that's a small concession, right? But again, they still behead people for simple crimes. They cut off people's hands for stealing. They have an incredibly punitive justice system. Anyone who doesn't believe in their religion is basically murdered. So you can't be an atheist in Saudi Arabia, or you will be murdered. And so they're an incredibly repressive society, treating women like third-class citizens. Now, if you're a real conservative, you would look at that and say, well, I don't agree with that. Radical Islam. Why are we allied with that country? Why are they our friends? But we don't have real conservatives in this country, at least of all people in power. So you go, we want to talk about radical Islam, except for those guys. Those guys are okay because they sell us cheap oil. And the oil companies, our donors, love them. They absolutely love them. And so, look, they don't care about ideology. It's about the money. It's about the money. That's why, for example, 4 out of the 5 vetoes by the Trump administration were against efforts to reduce U.S. support for Saudi Arabia. And that has to do, of course, with the massive genocide and starvation of the country of Yemen. Where are you, conservatives? Where are the conservatives who despise radical Islam? Where are they? Where are they? Where are the conservatives that despise war? Where are they? Trump has buddied up with the most extreme Islamist government in the world and wants to use our troops to do their bidding, to fight their wars. Where are you? Where are you? Where's Dave Rubin? Where's the rest of them? They're going to stay silent because that's who they are. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.